Fit 22. Who should subscribe? Yeah, that's you.
Hey, it's Huck. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it seems like there's an awful lot of YouTubers these days who are posting movie reviews. And it's really pissing me off. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against product reviews, especially all those high-tech gadgets. How else are we supposed to keep up with every new HD TV, cell phone, and tablet being churned out by a million Chinese kids working 60 hours a week? But film reviews are another thing altogether. For one thing, there aren't that many good movies being made these days. At least not worthy of plunking down $10 for a ticket. But watching all these reviews on YouTube, you'd think every film was the next Godfather or Shakespeare in Love. The truth is, most studios are hyping these movies with wide releases and multi-million-dollar promotional campaigns, not because they're any good, but because they're desperate to try to recoup some of the money they wasted making the damn things in the first place. In most cases, you'd be better entertained sitting at home in front of your TV watching reruns of Storage Wars. Now, I'm not saying they don't make any good movies anymore, but let's face it, they can't even pick 10 good ones to nominate for Best Picture of the Year. I mean, how many of these damn films did you see? And frankly, most of these YouTube movie reviewers don't know what they're talking about, which really makes it confusing because, as we all know, most legitimate, paid professional movie critics don't know what the hell they're talking about either. And these folks seem compelled to reveal every detail of every movie they see. They just can't stop themselves. On slow weeks, they've even resorted to reviewing movie trailers. Have you seen these? Now, the purpose of a review is to convince us to go see a film we might otherwise ignore, or to warn us that this isn't worth spending our money on. But what's the purpose of a movie trailer review? To rob me of the 5 minutes I could be spending on YouTube watching cheap FX muzzle flashes and grenade explosions? To take 5 minutes of my time to embellish and detail what I could see for myself in 20 or 30 seconds? Are you serious? What the hell are these people thinking? But most of all, to review a film you need the prerequisite foundation. Not just a basic understanding of how a film is made, but also on the complete body of works on which to compare it to. When you don't have these, the result is like standing too close to a Renoir painting. You become mesmerized by all the individual blotches of paint. Yeah, sure, they're colorful and maybe even interesting. But the truth is, you don't have an idea of what the f you're looking at. You have to step back and look at the bigger picture. So it is with films. The only way to appreciate a really good movie is to consider it in its proper perspective. How does it compare or contrast, borrow or expand on other films? How does the cinematographer's technique and scale enhance or mute a scene's context? Is it more dialogue-driven or visual? Are there symbolic contexts that are consistent throughout the film, and do they work? Most of all, what was the director attempting to reach for? And did he succeed? These and a million other considerations are the building blocks of any film. It is a reviewer's job to highlight the more critical elements of the film and, in the end, assess whether or not it's worthy of anyone's time. Now, I've spent half my life working as a professional journalist, and I can tell you, there is no better job than being a professional movie critic, or, in the case of the small market rags I work for, working as an entertainment editor. Unlike the news reporter, who may have to cover 5 or 6 events in a day and then hustle back to the newsroom to write an article on each one, the entertainment editor movie critic is lucky if he churns out 1 column a day. The typical day for an entertainment editor consists of sifting through hundreds of emailed invitations and promotions, maybe an hour-long chat with the lead singer of the next band coming to town, and finally, poring over a crate full of DVDs, CDs, hats, t-shirts, and free passes to movie screenings, concerts, and every theater production scheduled in the area, along with special press screenings these reviewers get to see a week or so before release. Often they're invited to something called sizzle releases. These are like 10 or 20-minute clips of as yet unreleased movie. They're intended to create a little buzz long before a movie's actual release date. These days, there's an awful lot of movies that are released without any press screening whatsoever. They figure with any luck at all, they at least have one weekend to fill the seats before the reviews get out. But probably the biggest advantage legitimate movie reviewers have over the rest of us is all of the independent and foreign films they get to see. Along with a few such films you may be familiar with, critics see dozens and dozens more, largely because of all the invitations they receive to any one of the thousands of independent film festivals all over the world. A lot of these films are made on shoestring budgets and on a desperate search for a distributor. Copies of these films are sent to as many critics and film festivals as possible. The hope is that the film or the director will receive enough recognition to get accepted into a more prominent film festival. You know, one that people actually attend. If the strategy succeeds, the film may actually play at a few art house cinemas or get a limited DVD release. But with more than 100 mostly obscure specialized film festivals in North America and hundreds more around the world, this is about as far as most of these films will ever get to a wide viewing. No Cineplex is going to devote one of its 10 or 15 screens to some unknown film that doesn't have even a dime of promotion behind it, no matter how good it may be. So, when one of these films does overcome the odds and manages to play at some independent cinema around the country, well, critics are often the only folks that really know about it. I know. I got a chance to sit at the entertainment desk on 3 different newspapers at least occasionally, so you're thinking, hey, how do I sign up for that job? Well, the good news is, it's a job open to pretty much anyone, which is rather obvious if you've read any syndicated movie reviews lately. I mean, it's not like any of these folks went to film school or worked in the entertainment industry. Hell, I've seen sports reporters pulled off their beat to fill in at the entertainment desk. And some, like conservative icon and film critic Michael Medved, probably got the job because it was obvious they can't make sense of anything based in reality, so hell, you're paying the guy, you gotta put him somewhere. There are just a few things that all film critics tend to have in common. One is a way with words that goes beyond simply describing special effects as, "That was unbelievable, man." Another is a talent they seem to have for excoriating, writing scathing reviews over films that are destined for wild popularity, while at the same time giving rave reviews to films that are about as entertaining as running bathwater. So, with this being the competition, how can you too become a professional film critic and get paid to watch movies and eat popcorn while the rest of us have to work for a living? Well, from what I can see out there, it helps to be 50 years old, balding, and the owner of nerdy sweater vests. But, most of all, you have to watch films. Lots and lots of films. The more the better. And the higher quality of the films you watch, the better you're able to recognize genius when you see it. Now, I'm going along with the theory that at least a lot of movie fans aren't familiar with some of the films that were made maybe before they were born, or that don't appear on their local video store shelf, or at the local red box. For younger folks especially, if it wasn't a big blockbuster, chances are if it's more than 10 years old, you just don't have any desire to see it. And that leaves out a ton of exceptional movies. Some are brilliant, some are groundbreaking, others significant maybe for other reasons. But each one you watch significantly makes you less stupid. Now, one of the advantages most legitimate movie critics have over the rest of us is the fact that they spend more time watching movies than the rest of us spend working for a living, dating, and having sex combined. That's not necessarily by choice, you understand. But hey, when you're obnoxious, self-centered, and as physically repulsive as many of these folks are, you know, there aren't a lot of options left other than sitting in a dark theater alone. So I am taking it upon myself to help all of you wannabe film critics out there to perfect your craft. Since few of us have ever been that lonely and desperate, present company accepted, that means that most of us have found better things to do with our time than to sit and watch all of the old and new movies we really should have seen. Well, I'm here to change all that. I've compiled a number of lists that you can find by clicking on them at the end of this video. These include the American Film Institute's greatest 100 films of all time and lists of both US and worldwide box office champions. In addition to these, I have compiled some lists of must-see movies you may have missed. I've broken them down into just a few basic categories that include drama, documentary, comedy, coming of age, action-adventure, horror, musical, and science fiction fantasy. If you really want to call yourself a film expert, I suggest you begin scoring yourself on how many of these films in these lists you've already seen. A score of about 80% in any one category would rate you a B in my book. But I'm going to help you weed through these categories, and I'm going to need your help too. Beginning in March, I will pick 2, maybe 3 similar movies from one of those categories for review. In some cases, I'll explain why one film is far superior to the others, or I may explain why each of them deserve a prominent place in your home DVD collection. Hopefully, some of these will be films you missed, and you'll want to see now for the first time. In other cases, even if you've seen the film a dozen times, I promise to make the review funny, irreverent, and educational. And if that's not enough, what the fuck do you want from me? And as I said, I'm going to need your help. I would like you to go through these lists and let me know which of these films you'd like to see reviewed. Or, more importantly, which films aren't on the list that should be included. Just leave a comment below each list of any film or films that ought to be included with maybe a sentence on why. I promise to consider every suggestion you offer, whether it be in the comments below this video or in the comment sections of any of the video lists. Anyway, I'm Huck. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next week.